What is up everyone, Mark here, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. Now that all rehearsals for Eurovision 2023 are done, I'm going to be giving my final top 10 before the show. So with that said, let us begin with my number 10 spot, which is Latvia. This is Sudden Light's Aya, and this is a song that just deserves my top 10. I was so impressed with the rehearsals, I loved everything about them. The camera angles, the vocals, the lights, the staging, it was perfect, it was subtle, it just built so well upon the foundation that we got in Supernova. Honestly, this is one of the most underrated songs we've gotten this year by far. I really do enjoy this song, I listen to it quite a bit, and I think because it is so subtle, it just has not gotten the attention that it deserves. And judging from some of the comments, I think the rehearsals have really improved a lot of people's impressions of this entry. I see a lot more comments now saying how great Latvia is, which is great to see because I think Sudden Lights is a very underrated band, and they also have a great song too. I mean, this song is, again, very subtle, but I think it works very well. It is very effective, quite moving actually. Those rehearsals were so promising, and I also like that towards the end, they actually do kind of use the LEDs a little bit. They didn't just copy and paste what they had in Supernova. Also, one thing I want to add here too is that this song has one of the most unique intros of any of the songs here. I love that little introduction with that kind of keypad there. No other song has anything quite like that, and I can't recall any songs in the past that have had anything like that either. I think this is one of the most unique songs all around, and I really think that it actually will stand out in kind of a funny way because it is one of the more subtle songs, whereas a lot of these songs we've gotten this year are very bombastic, very over the top, and just very out there, and I think that will actually play a lot to its benefit, or at least I hope so, in the semifinals. So for me, this will get a 9.5 out of 10, a total underrated gem this year, and just cannot wait to see what they give us on Tuesday. So with that said, let us move on to my number 9 spot, which is Slovenia. This is Joker out with the song Carpe Diem, and this song I actually was going to place a bit lower, but just because I love the band so much, I want to keep them in my top 10. They are amazing. Now you might be asking yourself, why are they in my number 9 spot, whereas last time they were in my number 5 spot? And the reason for that is the rehearsals just left a bit to be desired. I really had high expectations for this band and for what they were going to give us in Liverpool, but that rehearsal was just a bit so-so. I didn't find it to be that interesting or that strong. I found the staging to be very flat as well. I thought they could have done a lot more with the stage, or at least just the way they're moving around the stage. It looked very plain to me. And again, I haven't seen the whole thing, so they might actually impress us with other parts of the performance. Again, we've only had very short snippets of the rehearsals that we've seen. However, the band is so great, so charismatic, that I think those aspects are going to carry the performance in spite of the lack of interesting staging. And I also just do love this band and this song a lot. I mean, this is one of my favorite songs this entire season. This is, of course, my most streamed song on Spotify. If you've seen my personal awards video, you would know this is a song I listen to a lot. It is exactly my type of music. I listen to songs like this all the time, and I think even without Eurovision, I can see this band becoming world famous just because they are so fun, so charismatic, and just so charming. I mean, these guys, they get along so great with every other contestant. It is so great to see in all the pre-parties and the turquoise carpet and everything like that. So very high hopes for their careers. Just for Eurovision, I just hope they ramp up the staging a little bit, or at least surprise us in the full performance, and I just really cannot wait to see what they have in store for us on Tuesday. So with that, let's move on to my number 8 spot, which is Armenia. This is Brunette with the song Future Lover, and one of my new favorites this year. I honestly was not the biggest fan of this when it first came out. If you've seen my previous videos, you might know that I was not a big fan of the rap, and I thought some of the lyrics were a little bit funny, like the lyrics about near cafes, which was supposed to be neat cafes, but was apparently some sort of typo in a tweet. So yeah, the song itself, I still am a bit iffy on. I'm not the biggest fan of it in particular. However, I absolutely loved this staging. I love that little platform that Brunette is on, and I also love the lighting and the way that her face kind of blends in with that little square thing she's on. It's a bit hard to describe, but as you can see here, I think this is some really unique staging. I love that kind of ripple in the screen also. That was really cool. I never have seen anything quite like that in Eurovision, at least not in the past couple years, so I do like that element of it. I like that she's bringing something different, and I have no doubt that it will complement the song very well. Also, her vocals were really good in this performance, again in both the first and second rehearsals. I really do love her voice, and it makes up a lot for some of my critiques about the song. For me, overall, this will get a 9.5 out of 10. I think it is very good. Again, just have some nitpicks about the song itself, but the rehearsals gave me a much better impression of this entry, and also much more faith in Brunette that she will give us a great show, and potentially bring Armenia back to the top 10. With that said, let us move on to my number 7 spot, which is Sweden. This is Loreen with the song Tattoo. I loved everything about this performance in Melfest, and really was impressed by the staging. However, I think just from what we've seen so far, the translation of it to Liverpool was not the most effective. In Melfest, Loreen was in the middle of this giant kind of sandwich, which I thought looked really cool, and it really gave that performance such a unique aura, such a unique look, look that no other act could really replicate. However, in the rehearsals, the kind of platform that she's on, the sandwich as I like to call it, is a lot smaller and it looked a little bit just awkward. You know, I think in Melfest, it was great to have a larger platform just because she was able to do a lot more dance moves on it and was able to kind of just have a lot more camera angles and things like that. But for this one, the one in Eurovision, it doesn't seem as dynamic. It just seems like she doesn't have a lot of room to move around. And also in the rehearsals, her vocals were just okay. I didn't feel like they were as good as they were in Melfest, but that could also be because she was saving her voice for the live show, so don't want to take too many points off for that. The rehearsals did kind of hurt my impression of the song. Not so much, of course, that it's out of my top 10, but just enough that it's no longer in my top 3. I still think Loreen is incredible. I think she has a lot of potential still to win, but I just didn't feel like the rehearsals gave us the best idea of what the song is going to look like in the semifinals or the grand finals. So right now, I think this is a pretty good spot to give it. I'm no longer going to be giving this a 10 out of 10 because of the staging, but I think Loreen is incredible. I think she's a great artist, and I have no doubt that she will compensate for, again, the smaller sandwich and some of the limitations of the staging. So with that said, I'm going to be giving this a 9.5 out of 10. I think it is still very good. I think it is a great song. And again, I think Loreen is one of the most talented artists that we've ever gotten in Eurovision history. So really have high hopes for her, really have a lot of faith in her that despite these kind of awkward rehearsals, she will give us a great and memorable show in Liverpool. And with all that said, let us move on to my number 6 spot, which is Moldova. This is Pasha Parfeni with the song Soarele Luna, and this has been one of my favorites since I heard it for the first time. As you might know, this is also one of the songs that I have in S tier in my tier list video, so really love this song, really love what Pasha gave us, and I was actually even more impressed by this entry watching the rehearsals. I wasn't quite sure what he was going to give us, and if you don't know, in the Moldovan national final, the staging was very simple. It was just Pasha, some drummers, and these ladies with some weird antlers on their heads for some reason. They really did not have the biggest budget for that performance, but for this performance, I was actually really surprised. They were going all out with this one. I loved the costumes, I loved the use of LEDs, and just the way they utilized this stage. I think it looks really good. I think it is very impressive, and I also love how they had Epic Flute Guy again, because Epic Flute Guy was one of my favorite parts of that performance in the Moldova national final, so to have him back is great. I had no doubt that they would have him back anyway, because that flute part actually he composed, and I just love the choreography too. I mean, the way Pasha's moving around, doing that little kick above Epic Flute Guy's head, and also those two ladies in the background, everything worked really well here. It feels like we're watching some sort of ritual, kind of like with Fulin from last year, which is an aesthetic that I really like. I really did love everything about this rehearsal. As you might expect, it will get a 10 out of 10. Love Pasha, love the song, love the rehearsals, and just cannot wait to see what he will give us on Tuesday. So with that said, let us move on to my number 5 spot, which is Israel. This is Noah Kiril with the song Unicorn, and this is one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen. I was blown away by this. The fact that she's actually dancing and singing, and just the way that she did that dance break on stage, everything about this was top notch. I was getting total Chanel energy, and it was just incredible. I wasn't quite sure what to expect from this one, and I gotta say, my expectations were not low either, because I've seen Noah's past performances. I know how talented she is, but this surpassed my expectations by so much. Noah is incredible. I loved her vocals here. I loved her performance. I loved that little dance break by herself on stage. I mean, everything about this is just so eye-catching, so dynamic, and totally reinvented my opinion of this entire entry. I also had seen some comments that helped me get a better idea of the lyrics as well. Lyrics about the power of a unicorn kind of confused me, and then I read some comments that were saying the unicorn is an important symbol in Jewish mythology and actually symbolizes strength. There's also another comment that I got which talks very in depth about the song and music video, which I will also show here. You can read these comments in their entirety on my tier list video. They really gave me a much deeper appreciation for this song, and also made me appreciate Noah even more as an artist for giving us a fun pop song with so much meaning. For me, this song is going to now get a 10 out of 10. I think it is phenomenal. I think this has total winner potential, and while I don't find it as strong as some other ones I have on this list, I still think Noah did a fantastic job, and this performance was simply out of this world. I mean, I cannot wait to see the full thing, because just from those rehearsals, I think this will be top 5 easily in the final show. So with that said, let us move on to my next spot, which is Serbia. This is Luke Black with the song Samo mi se spava, and as you might know, one of my personal favorites of this year. This song is so powerful, so different, so unique, has some of the best staging we've seen by far this year. I love Luke Black as a performer. I think he's super charismatic, super fun. I loved his performances in the pre-parties, and I also loved everything he gave us in PZE. I like that this performance is very similar to the one in PZE, but not a total copy and paste. I mean, they use the Liverpool stage so effectively. It really comes to life on the Liverpool stage, and I was once again very impressed with Luke's vocals, his choreography, the staging, the costumes, the set. I mean, this is some of the most eye-catching staging we've gotten by far. There is nothing else quite like this, and honestly, a lot of the things I like about this song are very similar to what I liked about Constructa's entry last year. Very unique, very out of the box, very evocative, very out there, and also has a really interesting message. Constructa's message last year, as we know, was about the healthcare system in Serbia. The message of this song is a little bit less like that. It is about waking up and being aware of all the things happening around us, and just kind of breaking out out of our cycle, so to speak. I also really do love the visual storytelling, the way that this makes you feel like you're in an actual video game, and especially towards the end when he's unplugging everybody, which is kind of like getting unplugged from the Matrix. I also really liked how they were using those ready fight animations on the screen. I thought it worked well. Honestly, this is one of those entries that I was very close to making my winner, and the rehearsals only made me fall in love with this song even more. So for me, this will get a 10 out of 10. Loved it, love the rehearsals, cannot wait to see what Luke gives us in the semifinal. But really, just some of the ones that I have up next I find a little bit stronger. So with that said, let us move on to my top 3, beginning with my number 3 spot, which is France. This is Lazara with the song Évidemment, and I gotta say, this song has grown on me tremendously. I loved Lazara's rehearsal, both the first rehearsal and the second rehearsal, and was just so blown away. I love that towering platform she's on. I think it is so iconic, so eye-catching. I love the staging of this entry. I love her voice. I love her outfit especially. I mean, they really gave her a fantastic outfit for this performance, and I really don't have any critiques at all for this. I did see some comments with concerns about Lazara's ability to move on that kind of tower she's on, but based on what we've seen so far, I don't feel like that's going to be that big of an issue. It seems like Lazara has enough room to move around, and even still, she looks amazing on that platform, and I have no doubt that she will give us a great show and utilize the staging to the full effect. Some other things I liked too was the lighting of this. I think the lighting really added to the atmosphere, and one of my favorite things about the lighting too is that one part where she sings Le Grand Français, where the stage actually lights up with the colors of the French flag. I did see some comments where some people were saying that's a bit too on the nose or just not that subtle, but like I didn't mind that at all. I actually enjoyed that. I love when France sends entries that could only have come from France. Entries like Voila, which are quintessentially French. I love that so much, and this is doing the same thing, really. I mean, this is bringing that kind of old school chanson, iconically French atmosphere, but also mixing it with those modern pop kind of disco elements that I think works super well here. And I also loved how the platform she's on, once that dress kind of falls down, turns into like a disco ball. I think that's amazing. I think it complements the song so well. In my opinion, this has so much winner potential. I can see anyone from people my age to people my parents' age loving this performance. And I also think Lazara is such a great vocalist, a great performer, that I think no matter what, her performance is going to resonate with a lot of people. My expectations were not low for this entry, but somehow she exceeded them by miles. And as you might have guessed by now, this entry will get a 10 out of 10. Love Lazara, love Évidemment, and just so excited to see this on Saturday. So with that said, let us move on to my number 2 spot, which is Finland. This is Katja with the song Cha Cha Cha, and you probably already knew this was going to be in my top 3. This is a masterpiece, honestly. I was okay with his staging in UMK. I did feel like it was missing a little something, and this performance, these rehearsals that we've gotten, totally answered all of my concerns. I mean, we have such unique staging. Instead of that kind of basic boxing ring we had in UMK, we have this giant box that Katja is like singing on top of, and then you have the dancers that are in the box like a Trojan horse that like just come out of the box and start dancing, and it's wild, it is crazy, it is just so much fun. I think this is going to be an easy televote winner, honestly, and while I'm not sure if the juries will eat this up, the televote will be all over this, and will definitely give the song a very good result. Katja, for one thing, is so charismatic just as a person. I mean, in those rehearsals, his personality was on full display. He just has such a unique aura around him, something that makes you just want to keep watching him to see what he does next. And I also loved a lot of things about this staging, like the silhouette, again, the box, that kind of pole he's using. Just a lot of this really worked for me. Those rehearsals, those are only short snippets of this whole performance, so I have no doubt that there are more surprises that Katja has up his sleeve that we are hopefully going to be very impressed by when we see this in the semifinal. And of course, once again, in the grand final, because let's be honest, this is going to qualify, this is going to do well, top 10 at least, and I just cannot wait to see what Katja still has yet to show us. So for me, this will of course get another 10 out of 10, and I mean, who knows, this might be Finland's second win, so let's all look up those flight tickets. I hear trips to Helsinki are pretty cheap right now, but anyways, with that said, let us move on to my honorable mentions. These are a couple songs I wanted to give a shout out to, so very quickly, they are Lithuania, very close to making my top 10, love this song a lot. The rehearsal really improved my opinion of this entry. I think Monica has a fantastic voice. I think the backup vocalists are amazing too. Love all the cultural imagery on stage, and I also just love the song too. As I've said in previous videos, some of the lyrics are a bit generic, but overall I think this is amazing, and I also love that Shuto and Tuto part. So for me, this is also going to be a 9.5 out of 10. Another honorable mention is Georgia. This song was nowhere near my top 10 at first, but after watching that rehearsal, I was blown away. Her vocals were incredible. The staging was incredible. I think Iru has a fantastic chance at getting top 10 this year. In my opinion, this will be an easy qualifier, and I will be so happy to see Georgia back in the final. I mean, they really do deserve it this year. And another song I love a lot is Portugal. Now, this song was in my top 10, but honestly, the rehearsals were a bit disappointing, not because of Mimicat, but because of the staging. And I actually heard somewhere that the Portuguese delegation, or whoever kind of runs the staging, actually had a very reduced budget for this for some reason, which is very disappointing. But regardless, Mimicat still gave her all, gave gave a great performance, and I have no doubt that she will do well. I just wish that she had more to work with on stage. So for me, that also gets a 9.5 out of 10. With that said, let us move on to my number 1 spot, my winner for Eurovision 2023. And this might surprise some people, this might not, but that is...
Baby, it's kinda crazy.
Give it to you, leave you wanting more.
Spain. This is Blanca with the song Ea Ea, and if you've been watching this channel for some time, you might know I am a huge fan of the song, and I was a little bit concerned about how Blanca would be able to translate the staging from Benidorm onto the Liverpool stage, just given that the Liverpool stage seems to be a little bit smaller than the stage in Benidorm, or at least just has a lot less space to move around on it, and I was not disappointed. Blanca's voice, as usual, is the standout here, in addition to that amazing staging, and one thing I also want to point out too is that watching the first rehearsals, they actually showed kind of the last part of the song, where Blanca hits that final high note, and it sounds like she's actually going for kind of what we heard in the studio track, which was a much more complex final high note than the one we got in Benidorm. I mean, this is a series of different notes that are all in the same breath, and honestly, my jaw dropped watching that first rehearsal because I had never heard her do that ever in any of her performances, so I was totally caught off guard and super impressed. Just the way she was able to hit those notes was incredible, and again, that's just the first rehearsal. Hopefully, she'll have time to practice that final part as we get closer to Saturday, because if she hits those notes, I'm seeing jury winner, honestly. There's nothing else quite like it this year, or really in many other years of Eurovision, so I am fully rooting for this song. I think this is Spain's chance to win it for the first time in like 60 years. I mean, a victory for Spain, as well as for France, honestly, has been long overdue, and it is about time that we see Spain in the number 1 spot, and about time that I finally book a trip to Spain, because I've been waiting to go, and I need a good excuse to go to Madrid. Anyways, really hoping this one wins. Love Blanca so much. I think she is a phenomenal performer, great vocalist, and again, she's bringing that amazing staging from Benidorm, and translating it seems very well onto the Liverpool stage, so no concerns there. I love this song so much. I really think it is something so special, something so iconic, and for me, as you might expect, this is going to get a 10 out of 10. With that has been my final top 10 before the show. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my list, what songs you would include, what songs you would not include. Really want to hear your thoughts down below. I love starting discussions with you all, so if you haven't already, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to help support the channel, and also be sure to check out my Patreon. Thank you once again so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Peace.